I'd like to welcome everybody back to Alabama Care. Today we have Mrs. Katie Dumais with us, and she is the United Ability Director of Employment Services. And today we're going to be talking about employment for individuals with disabilities. And at this point, I'd like to hand it over. Mrs. Dumais, if you would introduce yourself.
Hey there. Thank you for having us today. Like you said, I'm Katie Dumais. I am the Director of Employment Services here at United Ability. And just a little bit about my background and how I came to work here. Since high school, I knew I wanted to work in a helping profession. I got my bachelor's degree from the University of South Alabama in therapeutic recreation. I worked at Department of Mental Health for several years in various capacities. Which then kind of led me here to then UCP, now United Ability, where I started as an employment specialist. I worked in transition and then moved my way up eventually into a management role. And thanks to the guidance of Dr. Edwards, our previous CEO, I received my master's in public administration with a concentration in nonprofit management from Troy University. So that's kind of my journey here to working at this great organization.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And it sounds like you've always wanted to work in this field and have been able to make that happen. First, I'd like to shout out Go Jags.
Yeah, go Jags.
My youngest brother was a wide receiver down there for a few years for their football team. And I heard they have a great new stadium down there as well.
They do. It is beautiful. I'm a little jealous I didn't get to experience it whenever I was in college there, but maybe we can make our way down for a game soon.
Yeah. Now, you said you worked with ADMH. If you could tell us a little bit about that. That was kind of your first experience right out of college?
It was. So right out of college, I worked in Mobile for an organization where I worked at an inpatient mental health facility. Where I did recreation therapy with individuals there. And then I moved on to East Alabama Mental Health, which is located in Auburn, Alabama. I was a program manager for several group homes in that area.
Yeah. So we really have ground up experience there of the whole community.
I do.
So
very boots on Sorry, very boots on the ground was my first experience for sure.
Yeah. Awesome. So today we're going to be talking about employment, and if you could give an introduction to United Ability's employment program, maybe some history there.
Definitely. So our employment program has grown exponentially in the past 6 to 7 years. So now we actually start in the high schools as young as 15 years old. We serve students with disabilities. We go into the classrooms and teach pre-employment skills. So we're in around 34 schools each year, serving around 600 to 700 students, teaching them pre-employment skills, anything from social skills, hygiene, how to get a job, how to keep your job. We do a lot of work-based learning in our community. So we do a 6-week summer program every year that is paid with students. And then we also have in-school programs as well, where we serve in-school and out-of-school youth to teach work-based learning. And we partner with several community businesses to make that happen so students can get real life experience. So they are ready for competitive employment once they graduate high school. So once they graduate high school, the goal is for them to move on into our supported employment or career service programs, where we would assist individuals with finding jobs in the community. And we want them to find meaningful employment. So, we don't want to just place someone in a job because it's a job opening. We really strive to get to know our clients and our participants to, we want the best job match for them because our goal is retainment. So even after we're not on site anymore with clients on the job, we stay with all of them for the life of the job. So we check in once a month with our employers and with our clients to ensure everything is going well. We really pride ourselves on the relationships that we have in our community with the businesses, just as much as those relationships that we have with our clients.
I love that the goal you said there is retainment. And that's the end goal is for the individual, no matter if they're starting out with the program at 15 or maybe a little bit later in high school, or even if they're out of the traditional school system, the goal is always retainment long term for that individual to be employed. I love that is the goal there because they say whatever you measure will increase. So it's not necessarily, how many individuals start the program, but our end goal is what is the retention long term, and let's focus on making that the centerfold there. So that is really cool. That was a wealth of information. So I'm going to kind of ask a few follow up questions.
Yeah.
How does a student at 15 years old, how do they get in contact with United Ability, or how does that happen? Maybe for a parent.
Sure. So all of our programs are funded by the Alabama Department of Rehab Services. So every student who would be interested or client that would be interested in our programs would first need to get signed up with ADRS. And from there, they would be assigned a VOC rehab counselor where they could then say, I want United Ability to be my service provider. So every referral that comes to us has to come from ADRS or Department of Mental Health. So, if a student is in a school and their parent feels that they need assistance with pre-employment services, they should first talk to that student's teacher at that school, who can then reach out to the appropriate vocational rehab counselor at ADRS.
I love ADRS. I mean, they're a huge part of the community here in Alabama. And once you get in the system, they will help you along that pathway. So even if you're starting at CRS, Children's Rehabilitation, and they have that funnel for you there. So you're saying individuals will be with ADRS, and then with a good relationship with United Ability, they can request that United Ability helps them with their employment services.
Absolutely, yes. They are, like I said, they are our funding agency and they are a huge partner. We could not do what we do here at United Ability without the partnership of ADRS.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. I'd like to acknowledge chat here. United Ability, thank you, Alabama Care, for hosting us. United Ability, thank you for being here with us today and sharing everything that you guys do. April Andrea, excited to be watching this. Great things happening. Sarah Williams, good to see you as always. Hey, y'all. Another key word there that you mentioned was meaningful employment. And I feel like sometimes I wish I had a wand and I could find the perfect job, for anybody, especially me coming right out of college. But sometimes it's kind of like a crash and burn where I have to get experience. I did a multitude of jobs in high school, college, and shortly after. I still am trying to figure that out for myself, but the meaningful employment can take a crash and burn kind of path there. If you would explain how you guys help finding that meaningful employment.
Yeah, definitely. So like I said, we really strive to get to know all of our clients. So we have a process. When someone comes to us, we do an initial intake. We do working assessments out in the community. So we will take someone out to a business. If they say they're interested in food service, we might take them to a restaurant where we can observe them working in that industry. We do those assessments, we see what they're good at, what they're not good at, and from there, we're able to make an assessment that says, okay, this is the job arena that we feel you might be best at. And then we work together with the client to put in job applications, prepare for interviews, eventually get placed on the job. And like you said, a lot of times it is kind of a crash and burn scenario. I don't want it to seem like every placement we make is the perfect placement, because we also are learning as we go. So we may think we've made just a great job fit, and it ultimately might not work out, and that's okay. We just ask our clients and our employers to be willing to come back to the drawing board with us and see how we can either make it work at that business or find something that is a better fit.
Mm-hmm. And I think you see, back in the day, I talked with my parents and my grandparents. I think a lot of individuals kind of stuck with a company for 20, 30, 50 years. And that's what you saw during that time period. And now I think in the younger generation, sometimes you'll see individuals move companies a little bit more often. So even that is, acceptable. It's 3 to 5 years or 10 years you want to change companies. can that individual then come back to United Ability and help get replaced?
Absolutely. So if we had someone working for 5 years at a company, we would still be doing those long-term follow-ups with them. So we would still be in communication with them. And if they were to tell us that they wanted to find a new job, we would assist them in getting their case reopened with ADRS and then coming back to us for more job development so we could help them find a new job and even take the proper steps to resign from a position.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned the interview process there. I'd like to ask how much assistance is given to individuals? Are you right there next to them when they're interviewing in the room? Or what does that look like? Because I get nervous about interviewing, being
Yeah.
interviewed.
Yeah. So, all of our services are individualized. So it really depends on the person. So we can give as much or as little support as needed. If an individual needs us right there in the interview with them, then that is what we will do. And we will help advocate for them. Initially coming in, we explain who we are, why we're there, why we're sitting in an interview with someone. And then our employment specialists are also able to maybe break down questions a little bit easier for some of our clients to understand if that's needed. We offer a lot of times to employers working interviews. Typically in this population, some clients aren't able to really sit down and do a formal interview, but we know they're able to do the job. So we ask employers, would you be willing to do a working interview and watch them do the job? Whereas on the other end of the spectrum, some clients don't want us in the interview, and we respect that. They may not need us in the interview. We might just do more background support, help prepare them for the interview, do mock interviews, make sure they have the appropriate clothing, and just kind of cheer them on along the way. So it really just depends on the person and what their preferences and needs are.
Yeah. I'm sure that cheering on, kind of that pep talk goes a long way. I know it does for me. Sometimes when I psych myself out, it's just very nice to have a little hand on the shoulder, like, listen, it's okay. This is going to go.
Absolutely.
This is going to go fine. Now you mentioned that with the interviewing there, it might look a little different in the past year and a half. If you could kind of go over how employment services and maybe employers have adapted during this pandemic and what you guys see from your end.
Right. So during COVID, we actually never stopped working. An employment specialist is a reasonable accommodation under the ADA. And so a lot of our clients were placed in employment during 2020. We actually placed 62 individuals into competitive employment during 2020 when so many people were being furloughed or losing their jobs. So we were able to adapt. We offered to do virtual interviews with clients. We still went to some interviews with clients depending on if they needed that service or not. So we adapted the best we could. We helped employers set up virtual interviews. We still went out and job coached and did a lot of coaching over the phone, of course. But at the end of the day, if a client needed us there beside them, then that's what we were going to do.
That sounds like a frontline worker. Like you have to be there.
We had a lot of clients that were frontline workers and worked in hospital settings, and we still, had to be there to support them.
Mm-hmm. Now, during that time, did you notice that employers were very open to doing more virtual interviewing processes and stuff like that?
Absolutely, yeah. Employers were very accommodating. I think especially during 2020 and coming to this year, it's no secret the employment market is booming right now. So employers most of the time are willing to do whatever it takes to get an applicant in front of them.
Yeah, I've noticed that some locations are offering bonuses that maybe didn't offer signing bonuses when they first started hiring there. So it is definitely an employee's market right now. Take advantage of it.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, for the virtual versus in person, and I'm going to kind of throw this out there. It's not would you say that individuals that come through United Ability's Employment Services program, most are in person, get in person jobs, or do you also see a balance of virtual jobs as well?
Most of them are in-person jobs, yes. We do have some clients based off of their needs that might need work from home jobs, but typically our clients are going to be in-person, more entry-level positions.
Hmm. And from working in the community, what do you notice is kind of a pain point for individuals when they're coming through the process? What do they get nervous about? What do you see as continued, like, I'm not sure about this? If you could pick one or two pain points.
Yeah. Well, I would say the biggest barrier for some of our clients is definitely transportation. A lot of our clients don't drive, so they have to depend on a family member or public transportation to transport them to and from work. Especially during COVID, that was really hard because some of the public transportation routes in Birmingham had limited services or limited routes, or a family member, might not have been able to drive them. So that's something that we try to help them overcome. We do a lot of transportation training and try to make it work with them the best we can and find jobs close to them so it is convenient. Something else is some clients, they don't necessarily want to self disclose that they have a disability. So we can coach them through that. And, if they want us to just be in the background and they don't want their employer to know that they have a job coach or are working with an employment agency, we respect that as well. And we can kind of coach them through that and support them the best way that we can.
Hmm. I really like that you guys very individualized. Whatever the client wants, the consumer, you'll adapt to them. And if you mentioned if they don't want you coming into the workplace, you said that you will do typically 1 month check-ins.
Mm-hmm.
And if you could walk us through what that looks like.
Yeah. So once a client is placed on a job, and they've been there for over 90 days, we technically close their case and we move them to what we call extended services. So in extended services, that's when we do those monthly check-ins, and we do them with the client and with the employer because we want to maintain both of those relationships. Now, if a client doesn't want us to contact their employer, we respect that, and we would only check in with the client. Most of the time, it is typical that we would contact both to maintain that relationship because we want to hear from employers too. Is everything going okay? And a lot of times, a year or so down the road, they may say, can you come back and train them on more tasks? And we will send someone out and do that. But if a client doesn't want us to contact their employer, then we definitely respect that.
Yeah, so that's awesome though. If you are in contact with the employer can say, we want to promote this individual. Would you guys come out and help them learn some new skills so that we can promote them higher within the company?
Yes, and
I
we would
imagine that
immediately.
that's a kind of best case scenario is when an individual is at a company that they really enjoy working at, they're succeeding, and the employer notices and they say, hey, we want to give this individual more support. Can you come back out so they can be a bigger part of this organization? That sounds like
Absolutely.
the ultimate success story there. Yeah. And let's take a step back about how many individuals are in employment services this year.
So in any given year, we serve around 1,100 individuals between our transition services and our supported employment services. So, like I said, last year we placed around 62 individuals into competitive employment. This year we have already exceeded that number. We are already at like 72 or 73 individuals placed, and we're not really that close to the end of the year. So our goal is to hit over 100 this year. It's been a really good year for employment. But over 1,100 in any given year, and that's a combination of our students and our adults.
Now, out of the 62, and you mentioned it's more this year, would you say the average age is right after school, the high school, or some a little bit older? What do you see there?
So now that we are doing more transition services and students are being served more than ever, we actually see younger clients coming through right out of high school. But we have a very wide range of individuals that we serve. So, where some individuals may be 21 first coming to us, we have individuals on our caseloads that may be in their 60s and they're wanting a part-time job. So, it is a very wide range of individuals that we serve. We also don't turn anyone away based off of their disability. So, as long as they qualify for ADRS services, we will serve them. So, we may have individuals who have very significant disabilities on our caseloads that need very specific job tasks or a customized position, all the way to someone who might have a master's degree and just need background support. Like I said, as long as they qualify for those services from ADRS, we are here to serve them.
Thank you for mentioning that someone may be 60 and looking for a part-time job. That's something I wasn't thinking about. I was thinking about the normal route there, high school, and then transitioning to getting a job at that point. But somebody may have, gotten their disability a little bit later in life or need services later in life, and they can jump back in to that funnel through ADRS and United Ability, and whatever that looks like at 60. I think working part-time is a great opportunity. I hope to do that when I get older, just to stay
Right.
busy.
Yeah, I mean, think of a lot of those clients may have a traumatic brain injury or have had a stroke, and they need support now getting back into the workforce after something has happened to them. And that's what we're here for.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to acknowledge chat. Allison Hannon Berman says Katie and her entire team are second to none. Bravo to all for the impact you have on individuals. So thank you, Mrs. Berman, for acknowledging Mrs. Dumas. So we've talked quite a bit about it. Let's jump through the process once again, and we're going to make this its own clip. So how do I join employment services?
Okay, so to join our employment services, you first need to get in touch with the Alabama Department of Rehab Services. They would then assign that person to a vocational rehab counselor who would do an intake with them. And, as you said before, ADRS offers a plethora of services that someone can receive. They would need to let their vocational rehab counselor know that they would like United Ability to be their service provider for employment. And from there, the voc rehab counselor would send us a referral. We would get that referral, get it assigned to an employment specialist who would then get in touch with that client, do the initial intake or assessments, and start the job development process.
Now, how long does that typically take, that process there?
So from the time we receive a referral to the time we start job development is typically 1 month. That's actually our own internal policy, is that we will complete assessments and be ready to start job searching with that person by at least a month after we start receiving that referral.
I feel like that's a really quick turnaround for that step there. I was thinking it would be closer to 3 to 6 months, and 1 month is amazing. So somebody joins the program. What does that schedule look like? You mentioned transportation can be a pain point there. Is it Monday through Friday or Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or what does that look like?
So it really depends on the client. It's individualized to their needs. If they receive a job that they're working nights and weekends, we work when the client works. So if they need support at their job at night or on the weekend or even during a holiday, that is what we're going to do. We're going to have someone there to support them. Our typical hours are 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. But once a client is placed on a job, whatever those job hours are and whatever support that client needs is where we will be.
So adapted to the individual once again. Now, what about the training? If you could speak again on the training. So you individual will get underemployment services through ADRS, come to United Ability, and then there are going to be some training, I imagine, at United Ability and some in the community. Talk about what that looks like when somebody's signed up and they've got their schedule.
Sure. We assist them with developing a resume. We do job applications, mock interviews with them. We we're not counselors, but we do a lot of counseling on what a good job fit might look like. If we feel as though someone might have goals that we can't reach just quite yet, we want to take smaller steps. We might work on those small steps first before we get to that bigger goal. And then we also train on the job site. So once a client is placed at work, we have an employment specialist there to help job coach. So they're able to identify if any accommodations are needed for that individual, and they're able to help the individual with orientation and just understanding what their job tasks are. If they see any kind of bumps in the road, they're there to coach them through it. So, sometimes our employment specialists can just see a better way to do a task. So they're there to coach that individual through that.
Yeah, it's almost like the more eyes you have on the problem or the challenge, you guys can come up with a creative solution there. And that's why I love that, when you were talking about the 1 month check-ins, you're going to the individual always, but then you're offering to meet with the employer because they may see something, the individual and the employer are there more than you would be or I would be, and so they might have a better solution and a little bit more experience with that.
Yes.
So the training there, and then the next part would be, and kind of the training is getting hired. When you're talking about going into the workforce and doing some training, it almost sounds like the employer, it almost sounds like a mock work in a way. Like the employer is expecting the employee to come on after that training in the workspace if everything goes well. Is that right? Am I thinking there?
So once a client is placed, they are an employee there at that business. So that business has chosen to hire them as an employee. We're just there for support. So whatever that needs to look like, we let businesses know we can do job coaching on site, and typically businesses are fine with that. They're okay with our employment specialist being there. So typically we would be there for a minimum of 2 weeks, longer if needed, of course, and then we would do kind of sporadic check-ins throughout that first 90 days. But ultimately, once they're placed on a job, they are an employee of that company. So, they are expected to be able to meet the needs of whatever job they were hired for. And that's what our employment specialists are there for, is just to help train and ensure that they are meeting those needs.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you speak of this, I imagine you have employers knocking down your door. How many businesses here locally in Birmingham area do you guys have on the list?
We have hundreds of businesses that we work with. I could just ramble them off all day, probably, of
Give a couple of
businesses.
shout out if there's a couple you'd like to shout out.
We have recently made a really great connection with Royal Cup Coffee and Tea, Hibbett Sports Distribution Center. Ross Bridge is right down the road from us, and they have been one of our biggest employers. UAB Hospital, St. Vincent's Hospital, many restaurants in the area. And as you said, I have businesses call me all the time and say, I have these positions that I'm hiring for. Can you send me some applicants? Which is what we want. We want businesses to call us when they have openings, so we can hopefully send them some applicants that can meet those needs.
As an employer, this is like a great service. Instead of putting out an ad on Indeed or ZipRecruiter, you can contact United Ability. You can contact Mrs. Dumas. You can say, hey, we have these openings, and Employment Services through United Ability will help find you great candidates. That's
absolutely.
Perfect.
Yes. And we actually have a hiring expo coming up on September 23rd. So we are partnering with the Alabama Department of Rehab Services to have a hiring expo here at United Ability. And we are inviting local employers to come be a vendor. It's no cost to the employer, and just advertise what they're hiring for, because so many businesses right now are needing good employees. We have invited several of our community providers who do the same type of work as United Ability to bring their clients to apply for these jobs. So some of the employers that are coming are Coca-Cola, Milo's Tea, Hibbett Sports, Royal Cup. So we're really excited. And if there is a business that's interested in being a part of that hiring expo, all they would need to do is reach out to me.
We hope to be there as well. We were talking with Mr. Barry, and we're going to try and go live from the expo just to kind of give a sneak peek behind what it looks like for future expos and individuals that are interested in going to expos. I'd like to acknowledge chat once again. Alex Dumas says, no task too small or large for Katie and her team of transition and employment specialists. I may be biased, but their participants' success and gratitude always speaks for itself. Great point about the greater need within the public transportation. So thank you, Mr. Dumas, for adding that there. So September 3rd. Now let's talk a little bit about one of the employers. You mentioned that Royal Cup Coffee is an employer here locally in Alabama. And what exactly are they and what do they do?
So Royal Cup is a local Birmingham coffee and tea distributor. And they have been so gracious to create a partnership with us. Gina Hyatt is their employee relations manager. And one of our staff approached her about 3 years ago, and we were needing a new training site for some of our project search interns. So that's another program that we have in collaboration with ADRS and Birmingham City Schools. And Gina was, she took this and just really ran with it. She allowed some of our interns to come in and train at Royal Cup in their distribution warehouse area where they were operating some of the machinery. They were doing some of the boxing. And, we really talked with her at the end of 2019 about possibly hiring someone. COVID happened and messed everything up for everyone. And so, they weren't able to hire anyone right then. But once they were ready to hire, Gina immediately contacted me. She was probably one of the first employers to contact me. Once employers were, opening back up and needing more staff. And they actually helped us to create 2 customized positions for 2 of our clients. One who was one of those project search interns, and then another client who was needing employment. So those individuals are now working full-time at Royal Cup. They receive benefits. And it's just a great environment. Royal Cup is just a true leader in their community. They are willing to go above and beyond for all of their staff, disability or not. And it is just a magical thing to walk through and see our clients having that meaningful employment. They got jobs where they wanted to get jobs, and all of the staff there love them. It's like, when you walk through, it's like you're talking to a celebrity almost, because everyone is just thrilled that they are there. And several of the managers have made comments now that those 2 young men are there, they wouldn't be able to do their other jobs without them. So they're, a part of a team, and they're needed. And that is what meaningful employment is.
I love that. We had a chance early on in our broadcast career to speak with one of the owners of Taziki's Mediterranean restaurant here in Birmingham, and they said that they try to hire a certain percentage of individuals that receive services in each of their stores. And he said, it's magical, like you said, with Royal Cup, and what you see the environment turn more from like a business to a family, and everybody really comes around, and it becomes a much more pleasurable work experience for everyone on board there. Now you mentioned that there were 2 hirings at Royal Cup Coffee. Could you explain what those positions and duties look like? If there are any individuals watching thinking, I'd like to get a job, but I'm not sure what that would look like. If you could give some examples of current individuals that have jobs in the community.
So those individuals are working in the warehouse area. They are boxing, unboxing coffee and tea. They're working some of the machinery. And, like I said, it was more of a customized position. So Royal Cup was able, and Gina were able to kind of develop and adapt a job description based off of what those individuals' needs were.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like the employers are so eager to have new employees come on. They're like, we're just going to create a job here. We want you guys on
Yes.
the team.
Yes, absolutely. They saw value in working with United Ability and with our clients, and they wanted to, bring them on as soon as they could.
One thing that we mentioned earlier in the broadcast is there may be some individuals that are hesitant to talk with their employer that they receive services. What would you say to them? Do you encourage them? Is there an advantage or a disadvantage there?
We respect what their wishes are and what their needs are. If they're unsure about whether they should tell their employer or not, we can coach them through the pros and cons of that. And we can let them know if these are the services and this is the support we can provide if you don't want to tell them, and this is what we can provide if you do. So we let them choose. Ultimately, it is all about choice.
As an employer myself, I definitely respect an individual's choice whether they want to have that discussion with me. But I feel like I would encourage it. I feel like it would bring us closer. And also, there are benefits for that employer that could help out the individual. Do you go over some of those with the individual if they're like, I'm not sure if I want to talk to my manager about this?
Yes, absolutely. We do go over those benefits, and along with the benefits, we also offer benefits to employers. So there's a tax incentive for employers to when they hire someone with a disability. So we make sure that all of our employers are aware of that as well. But as far as the client, we do go over the benefits of having us on site or having us even in the background and the employer being aware. Because if something does happen, we're able to kind of jump in and we can do more coaching if needed. Or like we talked about earlier, if someone is about to get a promotion, we can come in and help train on new skills. But ultimately, our goal is retainment. So, if something does happen, we want to be able to come in and recoach if we need to on those skills. So instead of an employer having to terminate an employee, they can retain that person, even if they just need some extra support.
Yeah, and I know that from an employer standpoint, they would love to have the retainment number through the roof as well because it costs more to find a new employee than it does to keep a good employee. So as the employer, they want everything to run great. Just let them know, what they can do to help out. So I know that they're looking at that as well. April Andrea says inclusion and awareness is the goal, and United Ability goes above and beyond to make this happen within our community. Thank you, Mrs. Andrea. So we talked, all the way from maybe 15 or getting started in employment services, maybe if they're a little bit older, coming back into the program. How long would you say if someone's like, I would like to receive employment services from that start date to 1 year employed? How long do you think that would be?
Like how long would it be for them to come to us as an adult looking for employment?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, again, I feel like I've said this but a million times, and I'm sorry if I keep repeating myself, but it is very individualized. So it really depends on the person. Some individuals come to us and we're able to find them a job within 3 months, and have them successfully placed. And then some individuals, it takes longer. So they might be on our caseload for over a year, still job hunting. So it really depends on the person, what type of job they're looking for, what their skills are, and also the area that they live in. So we serve a very wide range. So we're in Jefferson, Shelby, Blount, St. Clair, Walker counties. So as you can imagine, some of those more rural counties, there's not as much opportunity as there is here in Birmingham. So it may take longer. But we still stay in contact with them. We, have monthly meetings with them. We continue to job develop and do everything that we can to help them find that dream job and that successful employment.
I know it sounds like I might be asking the same question over and over of what's the time length there. I like to always see a time length, but when you're doing the individualized service, it can be very hard to kind of pinpoint that. It sounds like maybe if you're just starting out, it could be 3 months, maybe it could be a year, it could be a little bit longer. But I would think that if I had a friend that was going to go through employment services, on average, maybe 3 to 6 months, something like that, and they'll help you really find a good position.
Yes, absolutely. I would say, within 6 months, typically we would have found something. But I definitely can't make a guarantee on that because it always
Hmm.
depends on the.
Yeah, they're gonna pull up this clip and be like, "You told me I was gonna have a job in 6 months."
Yeah, you always have to have a disclaimer in there.
Yeah. Um, Jennifer McInerney says, "Great information. Thank you for sharing, Katie." Mrs. McInerney, it's good to see you in chat. Mrs. McInerney is an attorney here in Birmingham, and we do some broadcasting with them over the course of the month. So, thank you for that. Um, we talked about transportation being a big obstacle or challenge there.
Mhm.
If you could do one thing, or we as a community could do one thing to really improve the transportation experience, is there something that comes to mind? And chat also for you, is there something that comes to mind? You can put it in chat.
Yeah, so, I think just as a community, we have we need the resources and the funding for better transportation services. A lot of our transportation services, like Class Tran and Max, I think that they struggle just as much as any other employee with needing employees and the funds to be able to provide these services. Um, so I think it's very important for individuals in our community who are advocates for the transportation services to continue to advocate for those services. They are much needed services, not only for individuals with disabilities, but for the elderly, for parents. So, just the funding and the advocacy for those, I think it goes a long way. And then, I think Birmingham is doing a great job with trying to be creative, and who knows what's coming down the pipeline as far as more transportation availability. So I do look forward to some of our leaders in the community bringing some of those ideas forward, so we can all work together to make it beneficial for everyone.
Yeah. I would love to see a little bit of public transportation kind of grow here. I know we have some buses. If you go to some of the bigger cities, I used to live in Phoenix, and outside of Philadelphia, you see a bunch of trains. And the trains would get you from one end of the city all the way to the suburbs. And I
Yeah.
utilized them quite a bit. And I think a lot of the people and individuals did. And it's like Birmingham, we're big, but we're maybe not as big where we have a metro railway. I would love to see it go from Mobile, all the way up north, and then kind of spread out in each city.
Right.
Maybe we'll get, but then we go from being kind of that smaller city hometown feel to the bigger city. You get more of that. So it's a give and a take there. But I would love to see a little bit more public transportation there. And are there any upcoming events? We're going to kind of close out here at the broadcast vote. You mentioned September 23rd is the hiring expo. Now, do individuals need to sign up for that?
Yeah, so individuals with disabilities and our community providers are welcome to come to the Hiring Expo. All they would need to do is let their community provider or ADRS know that they are interested in coming. We welcome them to come from 2 to 4 on September 23rd. And then, like I said, if businesses are interested in becoming a vendor, we still have some spots open. So I would love for businesses to reach out to me to so we can make sure that you have a table ready when you get here. We're encouraging all of the individuals that are coming to bring their resumes, to come dressed, ready to interview. Some of the businesses that are coming are open to doing on-site interviews that day, possibly, on the spot job offers. So we definitely encourage anyone who's interested to reach out and let us know, and we will make sure that they have all of the information that they need to get here.
Yeah, so if you're interested in finding employment, I would prep myself to go to this expo and interview 20 times with 20 different companies in the
Yes.
2 hours. It'd be like a speed dating for interviews.
Yeah, that's the goal.
And are there any other upcoming events that you'd like to highlight? Maybe some virtual online events or other in person?
Yes. Yeah, so we have our biggest event coming up. Journey of Hope is this coming Saturday on the 28th. It is going to be a virtual event, so you can watch from the comfort of your own home. This year is pretty unique, and I'm very excited about it. It's the first time that we are honoring an employer. So Brassfield and Gorey is our honoree for the year, and this event raises critical funds in helping not only employment services, but our babies and adolescents and other adults in other programs that United Ability has. So I encourage everyone to log on and participate in this event. There's also going to be a silent auction, and I've seen some of the things that they have, and it's going to be very exciting. So definitely want to tune into that.
Now, that's this Saturday, the 25th. What time is it, or where can we find the link to it?
It is Saturday the 28th, and the link is on our website. You can go to www.unitedability.org, or there is a Facebook event page for it as well. Journey of Hope, honoring Brassfield and Gorey.
Okay, cool. We'll go ahead and put that link in chat so people can click on it from there.
Great. Thank you.
And as we come to a close here, is there anything that we haven't talked about that you think either employees, employers, individuals, or family members could benefit from hearing?
Yeah, I mean, I just think that if anyone needs services regarding employment or employment training, we would love for them to reach out. We are always happy to guide families through the process, getting them in touch with ADRS. If there are businesses that are interested in being an employment partner with us, please call me, email. I'm always happy to talk to businesses and educate them more on what services we can provide.
Well, thank you very much for spending the morning with us and telling us more about employment services at United Ability. For everybody watching, we'll put in the link in the chat, but please support United Ability on Saturday. It sounds like you might be able to get a pretty cool prize. Is there one you've had your eye on in the silent auction?
There's a diamond bracelet from Diamonds Direct on there. And then I know that there are some vacation spots, also some condos or something you can bid on. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Well, heck yeah. I might have to log on just for that vacation. I could use one here.
Yeah, same.
Well, thank you once again. I appreciate your time. And we will be with United Ability again next month and hopefully be there for the expo and get to meet you in person at that point.
Yes. Thank you so much for having us.
All right. At this point, we'll go ahead and close out the broadcast, and Clifton will take us offline, and we'll go ahead and give a wave to our cameras. And see you guys next time.